to documents and information so that we can express our view. There has to be cooperation between the Parliament and the European Commission. It's only that way that Europe can properly develop its full potential. So our resolution expresses that, and I think we should support it.
Thank you, Mr. Suster. Alexander Alvaro, 2.5 minutes.
Sehr geehrter Herr Präsident, sehr geehrter Kommissar.
President, Commissioner de Gucht, you're taking on a difficult task, and if it wasn't such a sensitive issue, one might smile to oneself. However, there are things that one can't smile about. Counterfeit infringements are something that undermine not only our economy but also the health of individuals. And the loss to the world economy through counterfeits was estimated at €158 billion in 2007. That's more than the whole EU budget. So it promotes crime, it destroys jobs and businesses, and it certainly can't be in our interests. Counterfeit medicines can also endanger the lives of those people who take them, not knowing that they are counterfeits. So it's clearly in our interests here to act. At one and the same time, it has to be clear that the EU negotiating mandate has to be within the acquis communautaire, so that ACTA doesn't stand for another crazy treaty agreed. The rather arbitrary information that's been given to the European Parliament about this negotiations are not acceptable, because at the end of the day we're going to be asked to approve it. So we call on you for full transparency and disclosure of all documents, including the negotiating document. I don't really see any other way of doing things than informing us and the public. Let me touch upon 3 questions here. First of all, and you've touched on this, can the Commission guarantee that there won't be a 3 strikes and you're out system? This would be in contradiction to the new telecommunications directive. Secondly, can the Commission guarantee that there won't be third-party responsibility for e-content for internet service providers, because that would impact on the e-commerce directive? And lastly, can the Commission guarantee that there won't be criminal penalties that go beyond the jurisdiction of the EU? I know, for example, here it's within the remit of the member states, but I'm sure that as custodian of the treaties you'll be taking your task seriously. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alvaro. 1.5 minutes, Mr. Jan-Philipp Albrecht.
Ja, vor über einem Jahr haben wir
For over a year here at the European Parliament, we have made it clear to you, the Commission, we've asked you clearly to look at the ACTA agreement and to bring in transparency and clearly visible rules of play. And we also need to conform to the product standards as set out by the TTA. And what the result is absolutely nothing. The exact opposite, in fact. We've seen this unholy coalition of the willing, which are negotiating with industry in a highly undemocratic, even illegal process to promote an agreement under the banner of democracy, which will affect all of the citizens of Europe. And we're not getting enough information from you, but we've still got the information that from the 1st of December last year, there are several fields that have become clear to us that we've got from the Council and the Commission, namely that the citizens of Europe have not been able to participate fully in the legislative process through their representatives in the Parliament. We have to ensure that the clearly formulated EU treaty is adhered to, and if we cannot guarantee the provisions of the EU treaty 100%, then we will have to say no at this institution to the agreement. If you can't meet the provisions of the treaty, then please stop the negotiations until you can. So the process needs to be act now.
Következő hozzászóló 1 percben.
Thank you very much. 1 minute for Patrick Le Ayaric.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, President. Commissioner, we're all opposed to piracy and counterfeiting here. However, you've just told us a fairy tale, Commissioner, aimed at justifying your negotiating an international agreement out of sight of people and their representatives. Let me quote Article 218 of the Lisbon Treaty. The European Parliament shall be fully informed of each stage of the procedure of any negotiations of international agreements. This is where we are with the ACTA agreement. So please stick to your own word, stick to the provisions of your own treaty. There is just concern for fundamental rights, because monitoring of piracy and counterfeiting wouldn't be for a government authority, but it would be delegated to ISPs. Customs guards would have the right to search MP3s and mobile phones under the pretext of fighting counterfeits, in the same way that SWIFT has been abused in order to under the pretext of fighting terrorism. We're muddling up counterfeits and piracy here, and we're infringing on intellectual property rights, on people's private rights, and indeed, in terms of medicines, people's health. So show us this agreement immediately, Commissioner.
Thank you. Mrs. Muscardini for 2.5 minutes. Thank you, President, Commissioner. The ACTA agreement is fundamental if we're to have full harmonisation of measures to defend European trade against counterfeiting and piracy. These negotiations are about very delicate issues regarding the guaranteed application of IPR as well as protection of data. And for this reason, once again, we would like more transparency. The Commission has to be fully committed to keeping confidentiality, but the current texts have to be made available to the Parliament so that we can keep an eye on the agreement and make observations to the parties to ACTA. So, Commissioner, what you've said is making us hopeful, but we want you to actually take action now. The Parliament has always fought to defend consumers and European producers from counterfeiting and from any infringement of privacy on the Internet. And for that reason, it's absolutely fundamental for the Commission to continue being active in the current negotiations, bringing together more participants. But unfortunately, at the moment, there are only 12 participants. We hope that a growing number of countries will be able to be involved, that is, emerging and developing countries, so that they can be brought to the negotiating table and sign up to the final agreement, which will bring about a broader vision. Obviously, countries have to commit to the commitments to fight more effectively against counterfeiting and piracy. This is an economic scourge that kills many sectors of production that are operating according to the rules. And for that reason, we have to be able to give guarantees to consumers who are facing irrevocable damage, including to their health. We've got to give them clear rules, because, Commissioner, if we don't have clear rules that are properly applied for the Internet as well, then the Internet per se will become a boomerang. And we've all got to stop that happening, because it isn't only an issue of individual privacy, but it's also